Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam wa Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa man istanna bi sunnati bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. Alhamdulillahi alladhi hadana li hada ma kunna linahtadi lawla an hadana Allah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilman warzuqni fahman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like to welcome you all to another session of ARB 011. We are continuing this course and now finally going to look more specifically and thoroughly at a couple of the letters of the Arabic language. We looked at the short vowels, we looked at the sukoon, we also had a glimpse into the long vowels as well, and we're going to go forward, and inshallah there will be a stepwise progression. Whatever we learn, we're going to use that as a stepping stone for the next lesson, inshallah. So let's go forward. Okay, we know that there's 28 letters of the Arabic alphabet. Okay, and we're going to look at two letters in more detail and look at the makhraj and its pronunciation, or their pronunciations. We have the letter dal, okay, and the letter ra. Each of these letters are unique, and we're going to look at some of their unique qualities. Makharij, this represents, of course, the different articulation points of the letters of the Arabic language. And so we have the schematic which we looked at before. These are the letters of the Arabic language and the different locations of their makhraj or articulation point. The first letter which we're going to examine today, inshallah, would be the dal, and its makhraj is at the tip of the tongue, as we see, and it's also actually at the hard palate and just atop the front incisor. This is the makhraj of the dal. Then the next letter was seen is going to be one of the letters later on in this module, but it's the ra, which is a similar makhraj as the dal, but a little bit more higher up in the hard palate and the tongue. Or the tongue with the hard palate, the dal and the ra. Another letter which we are inshallah going to be doing later on will be the noon. Okay. So the letter dal, it is pronounced like the D indeed in English, but with a subtle yet important difference. It is written like a reverse C, to simplify things, because now we're going to need, of course, before we look at the actual pronunciation, we need to know how it looks like. Now, in Arabic, letters have slightly varying morphologies in terms of three situations. Number one is when the letter in question is the first letter of a word, and its morphology can be different, or usually is different when it is the middle letter of a word, and its morphology can also be distinct if it is the last letter of a word. It just depends on the different quote-unquote connectivity with other letters. Okay, and as we get familiar with the different letters, we'll be able to bi'idhnillah write easier and practice, and this will all set in. So with the writing of the dal, okay, so for example, you have the word deen, like the religion Islam. Deen. Okay, deen. Again, you have a little space here. The dal, if it's the beginning letter, does not connect at the end. So dal can never connect following it, but it connects before it. Because if you have, for example, so you have this tip right here, and you have dal. So this tip right here shows its connectivity. For example, we had the word deen. But if we add the letter B to deen, we get bideen, bideen. And here we see the ba connected with the dal. Okay, so the dal can connect with a letter before it, but it cannot connect after it. For example, we see here it's the last letter. You have the word balad, which means country. Here it is the last letter in this word. Identical to the morphology when it connects or when it's the middle letter of a word. Okay, so here you have the word or letter dal. Okay, one morphology at the beginning, middle, and the end. It's basically similar. Okay, and just also a word of caution: do not confuse this with the ra or the dhal, which has a dot on the beginning, or the za either, because these can be very similar. Okay, so that's the writing for dal. Now, we quickly or briefly mentioned that in terms of its pronunciation, it is pronounced like the D in deed. However, this is an approximation. It is not exact. Okay, remember, the Arabic letters are distinguished by their makhraj, or the point of articulation, or points of articulation. And these are very specific, and this allows for differentiation of words with their near English counterparts. Okay. So, for example, the word Adam. Adam is the proper pronunciation in Arabic. But in English, it's Adam. Adam. Da. Da. That is a different da. It's a harder da. And this is the English D. It's more harder. While the Arabic Adam is more, that's the true da. Dal. Because of what? Because of the makhraj. And not only does this makhraj cause it to be more softer, but it also gives it one other unique characteristic, which we will shortly look into in a few moments. Well, the makhraj is the tip of the tongue against the upper teeth. The tip of the tongue, upper teeth, specifically the gum line, as we discussed just as in the prelude. Tip of the tongue, upper teeth, da, or ad, ad. Without the proper makhraj, there will be, or they can be, either a big or small deviation from the true pronunciation. That's important. And that's why, for example, in English, the dal is pronounced harder. Okay? Let's look at the schematic, and we see a nice presentation here of the proper articulation point or makhraj of the dal. Right here. This is the upper incisor, and this is right after it, right at the junction. Okay, da, da, ad, ad. So we see that this is different than ad, ad. Not like ad. That's wrong. Ad, ad. So softer. Okay, and we see the tongue is nice and curved. So you have da, do, the. Again, different than English. Different than English. Revisited. One unique aspect of the dal is that it is one of the letters which causes or has an inherent quality of vibration. It's almost, you could think of it as a internal quality of a drum. Okay. This is when it has the sukoon symbol of the stop on the letter. Remember, sukoon is a symbol on the letter or on a letter which points to the phonetic or the articulation being stopped on that letter. Okay, that's what sukoon is. And when sukoon is on a dal, then you have the phenomena of what we call qalqala. This is basically the vibration. The vibration. Okay. And one thing about if you want to look at or test yourself in terms of the makhraj or the point of articulation of any Arabic letter, just all you have to do is put a sukoon on it and have it preceded by an alif fatha. Alif fatha, and that letter in question with a sukoon like here, and then you will find and you will be able to pinpoint the makhraj of that specific letter you are speaking or articulating. And even if it's wrong, you will know where you are going wrong. So for example, if I say ad, I stop there and look at where exactly my tongue is. Is it in the proper place? Is it on the teeth? Is it more deeper in the gums? For example, if I were to do the English ad, you see that it's going more deeper than the proper makhraj. Or ath, ad, it's going more to the teeth, it's more softer than the ad. And also we notice that when you have this dal there with the sukoon, you have qalqala. So ad, right? Like for example, you say the word bid'ah, right? Before the a, you see the vibration of the dal. That is qalqala. And that is an inherent characteristic, or you could say even a drum of this letter. And it's interesting that in English you pronounce the hard dal, you don't get that vibration. And this is finer point for tajweed, but as long as you are again in that proper makhraj, you are pronouncing it right. So we have ad, ud, id. Okay. Well, these are the dal phonetics. Now let's look at the dal and its pronunciation in the Quran al-Kareem. Here's a recitation by Sheikh Abdullah Basfar. And what I will do is I will highlight where the dal is with the highlighter. And this will allow you to pinpoint where the Sheikh is pronouncing the letter in question. Because right now all these letters may be foreign to you. Don't let that phase you. We are focused on one letter. One letter at a time. This is the point of the course. One letter at a time. Know that well. And then basically integrate as you gain more knowledge of the other letters. Okay? Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves or prefers for us to have ease. So we want to try to take the easy way as much as possible. So let's go forward. So here you have the dal at the end of each of these ayat and sometimes in the middle. So
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا البلد ووالد وما ولد لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد أيحسب أن لن يقدر عليه أحد يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا أيحسب أن لم يره أحد.
So here we see the recitation and we see that when the Shaykh stops at dal, there is a qalqala, there is a vibration, right? For example, he continues وَأَنْتَ حِلٌّ بِهَذَا الْبَلَدِ وَوَالِدٍ وَمَا وَلَدَ. So the dal is pronounced, but at the end there is a vibration, right? That's qalqala. We see that the dal is not too hard nor is it too light. Proper articulation at the makhraj, the tip of the tongue, and at the ridge of the gums or the beginning of the hard palate. Ad. Let's do this again and we'll pause.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا البلد ووالد وما ولد.
So, وَوَالِدٍ وَمَا وَلَدٍ. You hear that? That is qalqala. Okay, that is qalqala.
لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد.
Again, you hear that again. لقد 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 خلقنا الإنسان في كبد.
أيحسب أن لن يقدر عليه أحد.
Here you do not hear it when you have the يقدر right? So the dal there is basically soft, but it's hard enough that it's not too soft.
يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا.
Again, no qalqala, but the proper elongation of the dal and the vowel.
أيحسب أن لم يره أحد.
And here it's clear the end, you hear that qalqala, the vibration. Okay, so this is the letter dal. Let's go forward, and we're going to digress a bit and look at or just discuss heavy letters. This is because we're going to be studying in just a few moments one of the heavy letters of the Arabic language, which is the ra. So heavy letters, why is this important? Well, heavy letters actually are a bit difficult for the novice or the beginning student to pronounce because they're heavy. Light letters are easier to pronounce. Okay, heavy letters needs a little bit of a phonetic acrobat or phonetic exercise just to sort of get your mouth and your tongue into the shape. Okay, in Arabic it takes some time. It takes some time for pronunciation or proper pronunciation of the Arabic letters. We're all used to pronouncing. We all have accents. We all have our own cultural preferences in terms of pronunciations, and this often is an obstacle. We have to shape the tongue and the mouth so that it can adapt and appropriately articulate these lofty words. We want to try to be as exact as possible as the original revelation, and it takes some time to convert our tongues into being Arab. Okay, so we have to inshallah try to make them as Arab as possible. It takes some time, it takes some effort. With practice and pronunciation, the proper makhraj, inshallah you get it. And use your ears to your benefit. Alhamdulillah, we have access to a lot of audiovisual, and particularly like Sheikh Basfar or Sheikh Husari. These will be great assets for us all, inshallah. And of course, the best asset is just practice, and also if you have someone live who can check you, a tajweed master, tajweed expert, that would be ideal. So heavy letters. Okay, Arabic letters can be either light or heavy. Okay, most of the Arabic letters actually are light, but the following are always heavy. And again, this is just for information at this point, because we are gonna look at each and every letter in thoroughness and in completeness, inshallah. We have the letter, for example, ta, wa, ghain, kha, dad, sad, qaf. All these are heavy, and if you've listened to me, you see, hopefully you appreciate that, yes, these letters are a little bit heavy, versus other letters like ba, ta, tha, jim, ha. I mean, those are light letters. But there are two letters which can sometimes be heavy, and these are the letters ra, which is usually heavy, and lam, which is usually light. The only time that lam is heavy is when we say the word Allah or lafdul jalala. Okay, usually when we say the word Allah or lafdul jalala, it is heavy, with the exception if preceded by a kasra. But that's another point, and when we discuss lam, we will look at that. But ra is usually heavy, and this is important because in order to pronounce the ra properly, we should be acquainted with some of the phonetic tricks in being able to pronounce heavy letters. So light letters. A tip in pronouncing light letters, even though they are usually, it's not a problem for us. But sometimes, just to get our tongues used to pronouncing light letters, these can be helpful, particularly when you have letters like a light letter followed by a heavy letter. It can sometimes be a little difficult, okay, transitioning, but we'll see that. A tip is open your mouth and let air out. Open your mouth and let air out. Okay, like for example, seen, seen, us. This will assist you in pronouncing a light letter. Heavy letter, more importantly, the more difficult types of letters to pronounce. And this is a tip which perhaps will be very useful to you. You know, irrespective of the letter's makhraj, you can use this to shape your mouth so that to optimize pronunciation of a heavy letter. Do the following. Okay, do the following. Remember these 2-3 rules. Close your mouth. Make an O shape with your mouth, like so, and fill it with air. So, and then what this will do as you're pronouncing that letter is it will cause your tongue to tense and bend. Your tongue will tense and bend, and this often is the main factor in causing the heaviness of that letter. The tongue is bending a bit. And this will allow you to pronounce a heavy letter, which can be rather difficult for the new Arabic student. Okay, now let's get to the letter Ra. The letter Ra is different from the English R and is more heavier, as we alluded to before. It is similar to the R in waiter or pretty, but it's not an exact equivalent. It is certainly not the R in Robert or Ray, or which are light R's. Okay. The difference again is makhraj. Again and again and again, makhraj is the key. What is the makhraj? The makhraj is different. The Ra is a heavy letter usually, but sometimes it is light. Okay. So we need to be able to pronounce this heavy Ra. Okay, but before we do that, let's look at the Ra in terms of its morphology. We need to be able to write the Ra first and recognize it first before we pronounce it, right? That's the first step. So we look at the Ra right here. It is similar to the Dal, but it's a little different. The Dal is like this, but Ra is more like a semicircle. Okay, Dal is more like a part of a square or something, you know. And Dal and Ra share characteristics in that there is no letter which can connect after, but there can be connection before. So it's identical in that respect. Okay, for example, you have the word Rod or Raib. Okay, Raib, which means doubt. Raib. So here we see the Ra cannot connect to the Ya. Okay, let's go forward. So you see the connectivity here. You have this connection right here. For example, you have this Ra is connected here with the letter before it, or you can say Sard. This is the middle letter. Again, it does not connect with the letter afterwards. Okay, so the Ra at the beginning of a word, it does not connect with the letter after it, but it may connect with the letter before it. Now just remember one thing, that sometimes if the letter before it does not connect, like for example, you have Dal. Alif cannot connect with the Ra. It cannot. So that's why it does not. You don't do this. No, that's not, because Alif cannot connect with the letter after it. Okay, but for example, if you say for example Dair, I don't believe it's a word, but Dair, here the Ya connects to the Ra. So keep that in mind. Now going to the makhraj, or the heart of the matter. The makhraj of the ra is the tip of the tongue touching near the first part of the hard palate, as we alluded to and showed you earlier. The middle part of the tongue bends, okay? And again, this is a quality of its heaviness. One thing to remember, one tip is do not roll your tongue to vibrate the ra, to yield a heavy ra sound, because this is a mistake and that's not what is proper. So you have here a schematic of the makhraj of the ra, and we see that the makhraj is the tip of the tongue against the first part of the hard palate. First part of the hard palate. Okay. You say ar, ar, again, ar, ar. If you're having difficulty, again, the trick is for the heavy sound, close your mouth, make an O, let air come in, put the tongue right at the area of the makhraj, and ar, 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 ar. Okay. That is the raw sound. If you say ra, ar, ar, the tongue is not touching the proper makhraj. Okay. And if you do ar, ar, that is also not desired, because this is where you're rolling your tongue. Okay, so that's not proper. But the proper way is ar, ar, like ar-Rahman, ar-Rahim. Okay, this is the hard or the heavy sound of the ra. Or, or. Now ir, ir, ir. Ir is actually light when it's preceded by a kasra, or when it itself has a kasra or kasra. It's typically light. So you don't say ir, you say ir, ir, ir. No, ir, yes. Like irji'i, ra, ru, ri, ra, ru, ri. Same makhraj, but with the light sound you have the, and if you're having difficulty, you basically just exhale. Ri, ri, ir, versus ur, ar, ra, ru, ri. You see the difference? You exhale a little bit, and open them out a bit, and this allows you to have and carry the light sound of the ri or ir, versus the heaviness of the latter. So that is ra. Ra is heavy, but light in the case of ra with kasra, and light when it's ending with sukoon with a preceding kasra. It is light. To make the light sound, remember to exhale if that's a problem. So you have ar, ur, ir, ra, ru, ri. Let's look at the Quran Kareem, and this will perhaps ice it for us and give us the gold standard in a sense.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر وإن يروا آية يعرضوا ويقولوا سحر مستمر وكذبوا واتبعوا أهواءهم وكل أمر مستقر ولقد جاءهم من الأنباء ما فيه مزدجر حكمة بالغة فما تغني النذر فتول عنهم يوم يدعو الداع إلى شيء نكر.
So here we see that in this surah there are many ra's, some of which are light, but most are heavy. When the beginning, iqtarabat, this is the heavy ra. Al-qamar, وَإِن يَرَوْا, again, heavy. This is light. يُعْرِضُ, this is light. سِحْر, again, heavy, heavy. أَمْرٍ مُسْتَقِرٌ, again, this is light and this is light because of the kasra and the, again, kasra. Here this is heavy because of musdajar, because the ra is preceded by a fatha. Nudur, again, ra is preceded by a dhamma, even though this has the dhamma on it. The ra, remember, when there is a stop on the ra, it is sukoon, so that loses that last vowel. Nukur, again, even though this has the ra kasra, it is heavy here because of the lack of the kasra and the sukoon is there. Let's again listen to the recitation.
اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر.
Again, kamar, you see that heaviness.
وإن يروا آية يعرضوا ويقولوا سحر مستمر.
Here we have two letters which are light. Here the ra is light, but it's followed by a heavy dad, and that may make it difficult for you to distinguish this light ra, but it is light. It's more apparent here when you have mustamir. It's light here, but the ra has something called shadda, which causes the ra to be doubled, but still you hear the ra in the light way.
وكذبوا واتبعوا أهواءهم وكل أمر مستقر.
So here again we see that here two ra's which are light. وكل أمر مستقر, light.
وكذبوا واتبعوا أهواءهم وكل أمر مستقر ولقد جاءهم من الأنباء ما فيه مزدجر.
So again here we see the ra, the heavy ra, mustajar.
حكمة بالغة فما تغني النذر.
Again, same thing, the ra is heavy.
فتول عنهم يوم يدعو الداعي إلى شيء نكر.
Again, same thing, heavy. Let's go forward. Some more examples from the Quran al-Kareem.
والله فضل بعضكم على بعض في الرزق فما الذين فضلوا براد رزقهم على ما ملكت أيمانهم فهم فيه سواء.
So here we see clear example of the light ra. في الرزق, right here the Shaykh recites it with lightness, and again, well, here when he says biradi, here it's heavy, of course, versus rizqihim. Okay, let's listen to him again.
والله فضل بعضكم على بعض في الرزق فما الذين فضلوا براد رزقهم على ما ملكت أيمانهم فهم فيه سواء.
Let's go forward and another example from the Quran al-Kareem.
وأمر أهلك بالصلاة واصطبر عليها لا نسألك رزقا نحن نرزقك والعاقبة للتقوى.
So here وأمر واصطبر, here light because of the ra preceded by the kasra. Here rizqan, light. Here narzukuk, heavy. Again, let's do this again.
وأمر أهلك بالصلاة واصطبر عليها لا نسألك رزقا نحن نرزقك والعاقبة للتقوى.
So here we saw many different examples of the ra, heavy and light. Okay, heavy and light. Okay, so altogether we've looked at the dal and the ra, many different examples. We saw the quality of the softness of the dal, but also has the quality of qalqala, whereas the ra can be heavy and also light. And we saw the different scenarios based on the different vowels on or before the ra, which cause that different quality to emerge. And again, as we just want to try to learn the alphabets letter by letter, we'll get a better grasp, inshallah ta'ala. Just try to soak it in and focus on the letters, and then we'll integrate as we go along. Each lesson is a stepping stone for the next. Jazakallahu khairan for your attendance, and may Allah reward you and keep on going. We look forward to the next meeting, inshallah, next lesson. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ولقد ضربنا للناس في هذا القرآن من كل مثل لعلهم يتذكرون